Donald Trump's name has become a symbol of power, controversy, wealth, and political disruption in modern America. He has been a businessman, a television personality, and served 2 terms as President of the United States, as the 45th and 47th President. But his story is not just about elections and victories. It is the story of a man who turned his image into a brand, and then turned that brand into a political movement. A story that begins in Queens. Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York City. He was the 4th child of Frederick Christ Trump and Mary and McLeod Trump. His family was already deeply involved in real estate, so the business world was not foreign to him from the start. His father, Fred Trump, was a successful real estate developer, working mainly in middle-class housing in Brooklyn and Queens. The family was financially strong, but Donald grew up in a competitive environment where achievement, status, and a winning mindset were part of the family culture. Trump's childhood was spent in Jamaica Estates, Queens, a relatively affluent neighborhood. He later described his upbringing as both disciplined and privileged, a place where his father taught him toughness and the value of hard work, discipline, and rebellion. Trump first attended Forest School, but due to behavioral and discipline issues, his family sent him to the New York Military Academy. This decision became a turning point in his life. The strict structure, hierarchy, and authority-based environment of the military school left a deep mark on his personality. It was here that Trump began developing an image that would later define his business and political career: tough, aggressive, competitive, and unafraid of confrontation. At the military academy, he also developed an interest in sports, leadership, and public image. This phase taught Trump another important lesson: how to dominate a room and control attention. That quality would repeatedly show up in his deal-making style, public appearances, and campaign rallies in the decades to come. Education and preparation for business. After school, Trump attended Fordham University before transferring to the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Finance and Commerce. Wharton became an important pillar of his career narrative, giving him business legitimacy in the public eye. In 1968, after graduation, Trump went straight into the family business. He started working in his father's real estate company, where the initial focus was on rental housing in the outer boroughs. But Donald Trump's aim was bigger. He wanted to see his name on the Manhattan skyline. Trump later repeatedly said that his raw instinct was his real strength. He did not follow a traditional career path, but instead jumped directly into the world of high-stakes business and image building. The move to Manhattan and a new phase of ambition. In 1971, Trump moved to Manhattan, and this is where his real empire-building story began. Manhattan at that time was the center of ambition, glamour, and media attention. Trump understood that in real estate, you don't just sell buildings, you also sell perception. He gradually took control of his father's company and rebranded it as the Trump Organization. This rebranding was not just a business decision. It was an act of personal identity creation. Trump was no longer just a surname. It was becoming a luxury symbol. During this period, Trump developed an aggressive negotiation style. He turned every deal into a headline, every project into a larger-than-life story, and used the press skillfully. A key part of his early career success was his ability to turn every deal into a public spectacle. First major project, the Commodore Hotel. Donald Trump's first major high-profile Manhattan development was the Commodore Hotel project, around 1974. It was a failing property, but Trump took the risk of transforming it into the Grand Hyatt. City tax incentives and financing arrangements played a major role in this deal. This project became a turning point in his career because it established him as a serious player in Manhattan real estate. When the Grand Hyatt opened in 1980, Trump's name began to gain citywide fame. This project also shaped his image, a businessman who could turn troubled assets into headline-making properties. That narrative became a central theme of his entire business persona. Trump Tower and luxury branding. The early 1980s were a career-defining decade for Donald Trump. His most iconic project was Trump Tower, completed in 1983. This was not just a building. It became the visual logo of the Trump brand. Trump Tower's glass and marble luxury, celebrity tenants, and central Manhattan location turned it into more than a real estate project. It became a status symbol. Through this project, Trump sent a message that he was not just a property developer, but a luxury tastemaker. During this period, Trump also worked on other projects, including Trump Plaza and Trump Park. The goal of these projects was not just rental income. It was to connect the Trump name with elite urban branding, personal life, and media attraction. Trump's personal life was always interesting to the media. In 1977, he married Ivana Trump. This marriage became part of his social ascent, and their 3 children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric, became part of the future Trump family image. Later, Trump's relationship life continued to draw public attention. His marriage to Marla Maples and later to Melania Knauss expanded his celebrity coverage even further. Early on, Trump understood that public fascination could be generated not only from his business, but also from his personality. That is why he never stayed away from cameras, interviews, tabloid headlines, and celebrity events. Business expansion and a high-risk culture. In the 1980s, Trump began to diversify his business empire. He entered luxury apartments, hotels, casinos, licensing deals, and multiple high-profile ventures. His casino projects in Atlantic City were among his riskiest and most famous moves. Trump's castle, Trump Plaza, and later the Trump Taj Mahal gave him national attention, but these ventures also proved financially unstable. Trump's model was based on high debt, aggressive financing, and huge public hype. This was the phase when Trump's business myth and reality began to move in 2 different directions. To the public, he was a billionaire visionary. To critics, he was an over-leveraged risk-taker who constantly restructured to avoid bankruptcy. The Art of the Deal and the Self-Made Legend. In 1987, Trump's book The Art of the Deal was published. This book became very important for his public image because it presented Trump as a master negotiator, a bold decision-maker, and a business genius. The cultural impact of this book was huge. It turned Trump into more than just a businessman. He became a face of America's aspirational capitalism. His language was simple, but the message was powerful. Dream big, negotiate hard, win always. This was the moment when Trump turned business into storytelling. Every asset, every tower, every deal, and every controversy became part of his personal myth. Financial stress and the first cracks. While Trump's brand was growing, cracks in his business model were also becoming visible. In the early 1990s, recession, real estate downturn, and debt pressures hit him hard. His Atlantic City casinos, the Plaza Hotel, and other ventures forced Trump into multiple financial restructurings. Some assets had to be sold, some went under lenders' control, and some deals had to be renegotiated. This period taught Trump how to manage the balance between brand and reality. His name continued to appear in the media, even when business performance was fluctuating. This lesson would become very important for his future political career because he turned public perception into a more powerful tool than assets. By the start of the 1990s, Donald Trump's empire-building story had reached a turning point. The businessman who had been seen as a symbol of American success in the 1980s was now under serious financial pressure. Recession, debt overload, and risky investments had shaken the stability of his empire. The casinos Trump had built in Atlantic City became more of a burden than a source of profit. Projects like the Trump Taj Mahal, which he had marketed as the 8th wonder of the world, opened in 1990 and went bankrupt the very next year. This was not just a casino failure. It was the public collapse of Trump's overconfidence and high-risk business model. According to U.S. tax records and leaked financial data, Trump's core business losses in 1990 and 1991 exceeded $250 million per year. He carried billions in debt and had to enter tough renegotiations with his lenders. These years deeply damaged Trump's always-winning image for the first time. Survival despite bankruptcy. Trump was not personally bankrupt, but his companies repeatedly went into bankruptcy protection. This is an important distinction that Trump himself has often used. He did not fail. He says he restructured. To save his assets, he sold luxury holdings and non-core properties. The Trump Shuttle airline, the Trump Princess yacht, and other expensive assets had to be offloaded. Trump maintained his visibility through a stronger branding and licensing model. During this period, his public reputation began to split. To supporters, he was a fighter who could take big risks and still survive. To critics, He was an over-leveraged businessman who sold his image more than reality. This dual perception later became very useful for his political strategy. Personal life and the tabloids. Alongside business turmoil, Trump's personal life remained a favorite topic for tabloids. He had married Ivana Trump in 1977, and their 3 children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric, were born during this marriage. In 1992, Donald and Ivana's divorce became highly public and widely covered. After that, Trump's relationship and marriage to Marla Maples drew even more media attention. Their daughter Tiffany was born, and they married in 1993. Trump and Marla's marriage lasted until 1999. During this time, Trump's image as a glamorous, larger-than-life celebrity businessman grew even stronger. But this personal drama also became part of the Trump family brand. Later, Trump began a relationship with Melania Knauss, and they married in 2005. Their son Barron was born in 2006. With Melania, Trump presented a more stable public image, which later proved useful in his political career. Miss Universe and the entertainment empire. In the 1990s and 2000s, Trump did not limit his media presence to real estate. He expanded into beauty pageants, entertainment shows, and celebrity culture. Ownership of Miss Universe, Miss USA, and Miss Teen USA brought him into global glamour circles. These pageants reinforced Trump's image as a public figure equally comfortable in business and entertainment. He became a regular face on red carpets, in interviews, and at celebrity events. During this phase, Trump understood that media attention itself was an asset. Whether the coverage was positive or negative, visibility had its own business value. That same mindset later became the base of his politics. The Apprentice breakthrough. In 2004, Trump's most important media breakthrough arrived, the reality show The Apprentice. This show completely redefined his image. He was no longer just a businessman. He became a television-built executive icon. On the show, Trump played the role of a no-nonsense boss who evaluated contestants, made decisions, and fired them with his famous line, "You're fired." This format turned him into a powerful brand in America's living rooms. The Apprentice gave Trump a mass audience, especially viewers who may never have followed his real estate deals or casinos. Now Trump's face, style, and persona were part of pop culture. This was not just a TV hit. It was a rehearsal for his political future. On television, Trump learned to use a commanding tone, simple language, self-promotion, and conflict-driven attention capture. Books, brand, and myth-making. Trump used books, interviews, and constant self-branding to strengthen his media image. The Art of the Deal became his signature text. This book framed him as a deal-maker, a winner, and a decisive leader. At the same time, critics pointed out that Trump's success stories included strong elements of ghostwriting, marketing, and exaggeration. This did not mean his influence was fake. It meant his public persona was carefully constructed. Trump's genius was that he could turn even his contradictions into part of his brand. Bankruptcy became resilience, bad press became visibility, and controversy became attention. First signals of politics. Trump's entry into politics was not sudden. As early as the 1980s and 1990s, he commented on foreign policy, taxation, and trade in newspapers and on television. His political instinct was largely populist and anti-establishment. He questioned America's global commitments, immigration, and the elite class. But until then, his main focus remained his business and celebrity identity. Around 1999 to 2000, he made a brief attempt at a presidential run through the Reform Party. This effort did not become a serious campaign, but it signaled that Trump saw politics as a future option. The 2000s, stability, fame, and hidden ambitions. By the early 2000s, Trump had reorganized his image. After financial stress, his brand was now more polished, more visible, and more mainstream. From Trump Tower to golf courses, his name had become a luxury label. During this time, his family front also appeared more structured. Donald Jr., Ivanka, Eric, and Tiffany gradually entered public life. In later years, all of them became part of the Trump organization and political branding. Trump presented himself as a man who was not only rich, but also knew how to make America win. This message was direct and emotional, and inside it lay the formula for his coming political rise. The final turn toward politics. By the end of the 2000s, Trump's identity rested on two strong pillars: media fame and business myth. Together, these kept him relevant in public conversation, even when he held no office. Then, in 2011 to 2012, his loud participation in the birther movement, challenging Barack Obama's citizenship, brought him to the center of conservative media. This opened the door to his political credibility. From here, Trump slowly moved from businessman and celebrity to presidential contender. America now saw him not only as a real estate magnate, but as an outsider who could challenge the system. During 2011 to 2012, Donald Trump aggressively pushed an issue that brought him to the center of conservative media and the Republican base: Barack Obama's citizenship. Trump repeatedly questioned Obama's birth certificate and pushed the birther movement into the national conversation. This movement was controversial, but politically profitable for Trump. It gave him a strong voice on Fox News, talk radio, and in conservative circles. Trump was no longer just a businessman or celebrity. He had become a political figure. During this period, Trump also showed brief interest in the 2012 Republican primaries, but did not launch a serious campaign. Still, his name had become a regular topic of political speculation. The 2015 announcement, "Make America Great Again." On June 16, 2015, an escalator ride in the lobby of Trump Tower changed American politics forever. Here, Trump announced his 2016 presidential campaign. His slogan was, "Make America Great Again." From the very first speech, Trump made immigration a central issue. He made inflammatory remarks about Mexican immigrants, called illegal immigration a national crisis, and introduced the idea of a border wall. These statements generated both media outrage and conservative support. NBC dropped him from The Apprentice, but his popularity in the Republican base shot up. Trump presented himself as an outsider, a businessman, and a winner against the establishment. The 2016 campaign, Outsider versus Establishment. In the 2016 Republican primaries, Trump faced 17 major contenders, including Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Jeb Bush, and John Kasich. But with his aggressive style, simple messaging, and media dominance, he defeated them all. His campaign message was clear: stop illegal immigration, take a tough stance on China and global trade, force NATO allies to share America's burden, bring jobs back to America, end the Washington establishment. Trump attracted large crowds at rallies and maintained direct communication through social media. General election, Trump versus Clinton. In the November 2016 general election, Trump faced Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton. During the campaign, multiple controversies surrounded Trump: remarks about women, sexual misconduct allegations, and constant fact-check failures. But Trump performed strongly in swing states: Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. On November 8, 2016, the election results came in. Trump won 304 electoral votes, while Clinton received 227. Trump lost the popular vote, but won the presidency. This victory was a shock even to political analysts. Trump had challenged the establishment, media predictions, and polling, and created history. Inauguration and early moves. On January 20, 2017, Donald Trump was sworn in as the 45th President of the United States. The very next day, millions protested in the Women's March worldwide, with over 500,000 in Washington, D.C. alone. Within the first 2 weeks, Trump signed 18 executive orders. Withdrawal from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Starting the process to repeal Obamacare. Reviving the Keystone XL and Dakota Access pipelines. Beginning planning for the U.S. Mexico border wall. These orders were turning his campaign promises into action. Immigration, travel ban, wall, family separation. Immigration was one of the most controversial areas of Trump's early policies. In January 2017, he imposed a travel ban on citizens from 7 Muslim-majority countries, which critics called a Muslim ban. Courts challenged it, revised versions followed, and in 2019 the Supreme Court upheld a modified version. Trump pushed aggressively for a border wall. Between 2017 and 2021, 73 miles of new wall were built in areas where no barriers existed before, and 365 miles of old fencing were replaced. In 2018, a 35-day historic government shutdown occurred over wall funding. The family separation policy resulted in more than 4,400 children being separated from their parents. After public outrage, Trump ended the policy, but the reunification process remained slow. Economy, taxes, and deregulation. The economy was at the peak of the Obama-era recovery when Trump took office. By 2019, GDP growth, low unemployment, and a rising stock market continued. In December 2017, Trump signed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which sharply reduced corporate tax and gave temporary cuts to individuals. But along with this, the federal budget deficit grew by 50% to nearly $1 trillion, and national debt increased by 39% to $27.75 trillion. Trump rolled back more than 100 environmental regulations, cut the renewable energy research budget by 40%, and officially withdrew from the Paris Agreement. Judiciary and the Supreme Court. In his first term, Trump appointed 234 federal judges, including 54 appellate judges and 3 Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. These appointments gave the Supreme Court a solid rightward shift. The long-term impact became visible in 2022 with the Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe v. Wade, something Trump takes credit for as a political victory. Foreign policy, America First. In foreign policy, Trump followed the America First slogan. He repeatedly criticized NATO allies, gave mixed signals on Russia, started a trade war with China, and withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal. He held 3 meetings with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, an unprecedented step, but no lasting denuclearization deal was reached. In the Middle East, the Abraham Accords normalized relations between Israel, the UAE, and Bahrain. Russia probe and the Mueller investigation. Trump's presidency was surrounded by investigations from the start. During the 2016 election, Russia interference allegations triggered the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation, which later went to special counsel Robert Mueller. The Mueller report concluded that Russia had interfered in the 2016 election and that the Trump campaign benefited from this Russian effort, but criminal conspiracy could not be proven. The report pointed out several possible incidents of obstruction of justice, but left the final legal conclusion to Congress. First, impeachment, the Ukraine scandal. In 2019, Trump faced his first impeachment. The allegation was that he pressured Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to announce an investigation into Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. The House of Representatives impeached Trump on charges of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, but he was acquitted in the Senate trial. Legally and politically, Trump survived, but the shadow over him grew deeper. COVID-19 and crisis management. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic became the defining test of Trump's presidency. In the initial weeks, he largely downplayed the virus's severity, gave contradictory messaging, and frequently undermined health officials. At the same time, he signed the $2.2 trillion CARES Act, the largest economic stimulus package in U.S. history. In October 2020, Trump himself tested positive for COVID and was hospitalized, while his team continued to present a relatively optimistic version of his health to the public. The 2020 election and defeat. In the November 2020 election, Trump faced Democratic nominee Joe Biden. The pandemic, economic stress, and social unrest made the election highly charged. Biden won the election, but Trump refused to accept defeat. He made election fraud allegations, but courts, state officials, and election authorities did not accept any evidence-based proof that could change the outcome. January 6th and the second impeachment. On January 6, 2021, Congress met in a joint session to count electoral votes. Before that, Trump addressed a rally outside the White House, where he challenged the election results and told supporters to march toward the Capitol. Trump's supporters attacked the Capitol, entered the building, and temporarily halted the vote counting. This attack created a historic shock for American democracy. After this, the House imposed a second impeachment on Trump. The charge was incitement of insurrection. The House impeached him, but in the Senate trial, the required 2/3 majority for conviction was not reached, so he was acquitted again. In this way, Donald Trump became the first and so far only U.S. president to be impeached twice. Post-presidency and comeback. On January 20th, 2021, Trump left the White House, but he did not leave politics. He maintained communication with his supporters, continued rallies, and began groundwork for the 2024 election. Despite legal challenges, investigations, and public controversies, Trump maintained his political relevance. His brand, media strategy, and base loyalty kept him a unique political force. In the 2024 election, Trump achieved victory again and was sworn in as the 47th president on January 20th, 2025. This made him one of only 2 American presidents to serve non-consecutive terms. Closing, legacy, and impact. Donald Trump's story is not just about a businessman or a president. It is a story of ambition, branding, controversy, survival, and power. The man who traveled from the boardroom to television, and then from television to the White House, remains one of America's most discussed, most loved, and most hated political figures. Defining his legacy is difficult. To supporters, he is a champion of America first, a leader who challenged the establishment. To critics, he is a figure who weakened democratic norms and deepened polarization. But one thing is clear: Donald Trump changed American politics, media, culture, and public discourse forever. His name is no longer just a personality. It has become a political phenomenon.